We didn't volunteer for Secret Santa, so men canceled IT. We didn't volunteer for Secret Santa, so the men canceled it completely sometimes. The smallest events in an office reveal the most about workplace culture. In my case, that event was Secret Santa. For years, I'd helped organize it in my male-dominated department. It was never an official assignment or anything that showed up in my job description. It just silently fell into my lap, and occasionally into the lap of my fellow female coworker, because we happened to be the only women on the team. But this year, that unspoken tradition came to a screeching halt. I work on a technical team of 15 employees. Only 2 of us, my colleague Lucy and I, are women. Everyone else, men mostly in their late 20s to late 40s, and each with a distinct personality. There is Sam, who always brags about his sports car. Brandon, who loves to mansplain everything from Excel shortcuts to how to make scrambled eggs. And Derek, who once teased Lucy for color-coding her notes in a girly way. You get the picture. We're immersed in a very bro-centric environment. Lucy and I are software engineers, which typically means we spend our days knee-deep in coding tasks, debugging issues, attending stand-ups, and delivering features. Our official responsibilities revolve around technical work. Nowhere in our job titles does it say Office Morale Coordinator or Party Planner. Yet, if you rummage through old company photos or ask people who had arranged last year's Secret Santa, you'd find that it was, in fact, Lucy and me, every single time. Those who have spent time in a corporate environment will understand. There's a phenomenon where office housework or planning duties often fall to women, even though these tasks aren't in any official job description. Need someone to bake cookies for the potluck. A female coworker steps up. Need someone to take notes in a meeting. Another female employee is volunteered. Need someone to plan Secret Santa. Yet again, a woman is expected to do it. I'm not saying men never help, but in my department each year around November, someone inevitably says, "Hey, we should do Secret Santa again. Lucy, could you set that up?" Or, "Hey, you guys did such a great job last time. Could you take the lead again?" Except, you guys is never Brandon or Sam or Derek. You guys is Lucy and me. It's always the same routine. We figure out who wants to participate, gather the names, assign budgets, buy supplies for a reveal, handle any confusion about who got whom, and generally hold everyone's hand through the process. It's a surprising amount of work for something that should, in theory, be straightforward. You might think, just say no. But in a workplace setting, especially one where we already stand out as the only women, it's not always so simple. We worry about being labeled as uncooperative or not a team player. We want to be seen as collegial. And since Lucy and I do share a knack for organizing and an appreciation for holiday fun, it always felt harmless enough. Until it didn't. Fast forward to this year. The office environment has felt extra tense. Our boss, Rick, has been particularly stressed about deadlines. Several projects are behind schedule, and people have been working overtime. Lucy and I feel it too. We're constantly debugging complicated issues, triaging production bugs, and firefighting left and right. In the midst of this chaos, Rick casually mentions in one of our weekly team meetings, "The holidays are coming up, Elle. Who wants to organize Secret Santa this year?" Usually, Lucy or I would shoot each other a no and look. Some silent code of "are you up for it, or am I?" Then one of us would hesitantly volunteer, or we'd volunteer together. But this time, we didn't. Something inside me snapped. I was too burnt out. Lucy too had her plate piled high. She was dealing with a major software release on top of personal life stress. Neither of us felt the slightest inclination to take on the extra burden. So we decided, in a quick side chat, that we simply wouldn't volunteer. We'd let it hang in the air. Surely, if the men wanted a Secret Santa, they could step up and handle it themselves. Right. After all, there are 13 of them, and they were the ones who always seemed the most excited about gift exchanges, bragging about what they might give, or how they look forward to the event. That conversation led us to the pivotal weekly meeting. It was a typical Monday morning. Everyone was gathered around a large conference table. Rick had a short agenda: project updates, sprint reviews, holiday schedule, and then, at the very end, holiday events. He cleared his throat and looked around. "So, about Secret Santa," he began. "We usually do it every year. Who wants to participate?" About 10 of the men raised their hands. Sam, Brandon, Derek, and so on. Then Lucy and I made a point of keeping our hands firmly on our laps. Rick glanced at us with a flicker of confusion. Then, with an awkward chuckle, he said, "Let's see, it's 10. Usually Lucy and you, Charlotte, are into it too. Are you not wanting to do it this year?" He sounded almost incredulous, like it was a foregone conclusion that we would handle it. I forced a polite smile. "I'm pretty swamped with work right now," I responded simply. Lucy nodded in agreement. "Well," Rick said, eyebrows rising, "if we're doing Secret Santa, we need someone to take down names, figure out pairings, that sort of thing. Are we sure we're not up for it, ladies?" That last word made my skin crawl a bit. Ladies. As if we were the official party planning committee by default. Lucy gave a short, polite shake of her head. "Sorry," she said. "I won't be participating this year." A brief, charged silence fell across the room. No one else spoke up. The men who had raised their hands didn't volunteer to take on the organizational tasks. They just sat there, staring at their notebooks or sipping their coffee. Rick cleared his throat again and said, "All right, if that's the case, let's just skip Secret Santa this year." I couldn't help noticing a flicker of disappointment in some of the guys' faces, but not one of them piped up and said, "I'll organize it." No one said, "Wait, we can do it ourselves." They just accepted Rick's statement and moved on. That was that. I felt an immediate sense of relief, maybe even a bit of triumph. Finally, I wouldn't have to cut up little pieces of paper with names on them and chase people for days to remind them about deadlines or gift budgets. No more dealing with, "I forgot who I'm supposed to buy for. Can you remind me?" Or, "Wait, I can't find anything in that price range in. Can I go over the budget?" This year, I'd have my evenings to myself, and $30 or $40 would stay in my pocket, rather than being spent on some token gift for a coworker I barely speak to. But it also felt telling. The men had apparently been excited to participate, but only if Lucy or I did the legwork. Without us, they collectively decided it wasn't worth doing at all. They didn't even attempt to see if anyone else might volunteer. It was as if the moment they realized we wouldn't play office moms, the fun was over. Could they have stepped up? Sure. They each have the same capabilities to create an Excel spreadsheet with names and draw them random line. But they didn't. They collectively shrugged and let the idea die. I overheard snatches of conversation in the following days. Sam grumbled, "Man, I kinda wanted to do Secret Santa this year," while Brandon sighed, "My wife usually buys my gift for these things anyway, so maybe it's not a big loss." Another co-worker, John, joked with Derek in the break room, "Guess we're not getting any free cookies this year, unless your wife bakes some." Derek mumbled something about how he was already too busy. That was the end of it. Lucy and I exchanged wry smiles as we passed by those conversations. Neither of us voiced it out loud, but we both knew what was going on. The guys were used to the convenience of having the lady co-workers plan the entire thing. They reaped the benefits of a holiday tradition with minimal effort, and the moment they realized they had to manage it themselves, the entire plan collapsed. It's a microcosm of a larger issue. Women often end up doing emotional labor or office housework that goes unrecognized. We do it because we're polite or feel an internal or external pressure to be helpful. Yet, it usually doesn't lead to promotions or bonuses or even official appreciation. Instead, it becomes an expectation year after year. Meanwhile, men get to enjoy the results of this invisible labor with very little cost to themselves. In my workplace, that invisible labor manifested as planning Secret Santa, but it could have been anything. Organizing potlucks, decorating the office, picking up birthday cakes for colleagues, all tasks that aren't part of our actual job descriptions, yet we somehow become responsible for them because, well, we're women, and we let it happen for too long. This year, Lucy and I put our foot down. We decided we're done with the extra burden. We have enough on our plates meeting deadlines, handling on-call rotations, and chasing down unresponsive developers in other departments. We're not obligated to orchestrate a holiday gift exchange. If the men love Secret Santa so much, they can put in the 15 minutes of effort themselves. In the days that followed, a few people lightly teased Lucy and me. "Aw, you guys don't like Christmas anymore," or "Where's that holiday spirit?" We'd just laugh it off. We didn't bother explaining the deeper reasons. How it's not about disliking Christmas, but about rejecting the assumption that we must be the holiday facilitators just because we're women. If they can't figure that out by now, we're not about to spell it out for them. One of the more oblivious guys asked, "Why can't you just organize it but not participate? We all know you're good at it." I had to bite my tongue not to say something more pointed. Instead, I responded with a diplomatic, "I have too much actual work to do. Sorry." Did he pick up on the subtext that this is not part of my job? Probably not, but that's okay. The point stands. I have no intention of letting them guilt trip me into reviving Secret Santa. The funniest part of this entire ordeal might be how it actually saved the men from themselves. In previous years, I heard them grumble about how they didn't have time to shop for a gift, so they delegate it to their wives or girlfriends. This year, they get to skip all that panic. No more last-minute runs to the store. No more roping in their spouses to do it for them. They can't have it both ways, complaining about the hassle while enjoying the convenience of me and Lucy doing the planning. A small part of me wonders if we should have spoken up more bluntly, calling out the underlying gender assumptions, but Lucy and I knew it wouldn't necessarily spark constructive dialogue. Our workplace has a way of brushing aside deeper issues with jokes or shrugs. Maybe if we had an official HR channel, or a manager who was more in tune with these dynamics, we could highlight the pattern. "Hey, Rick, notice that Lucy and I have always been the ones planning the social events. That's not really fair, is it? Maybe we should distribute these tasks more evenly." But our boss, Rick, is pretty old school, and I doubt he'd see the problem. He'd probably just throw up his hands, say, "No one forced you to do it," and move on. So, we took the simplest route, opting out. The result is that, for the first time in years, my department won't have a Secret Santa. It's a small casualty in the grand scheme of things, but it sends a clear message. If you want an office tradition, step up and organize it yourself. Don't assume the only women in the department will pick up the slack. I feel a bit of satisfaction knowing that Lucy and I finally set a boundary. We said no to an unspoken expectation, and we stuck to it, even when our boss tried to rope us in indirectly. And guess what? The sky didn't fall. The world kept turning. We still deliver our work on time. The difference is that we're not also juggling the grunt work of holiday planning. If the men are disappointed about missing out on Secret Santa, they only have themselves to blame for not stepping up. Will this shift anything in the long run? It's hard to say. Next year, maybe the men will remember this fiasco and realize they need to organize it themselves if they want it. Or maybe they'll just skip it forever, and our office will never see another Secret Santa. Either way, Lucy and I have reclaimed our time. We're done being the default party planners, and that feels liberating. Instead of rolling my eyes every November when someone says, "Hey, about Secret Santa," I can just focus on my actual job, writing code, debugging, and collaborating on real projects that matter to my career. No more cutting out little name slips, no more color-coded spreadsheets to track gifts, no more frantic Slack messages from forgetful guys who lost track of who they were assigned. I'd be lying if I said I don't have a tiny pang of nostalgia for the goofy fun that sometimes accompanied the exchange, but it's overshadowed by the relief of not having to mother a bunch of grown adults through a month-long gift swap event. If the men truly want that experience, they're free to do it. It's never been about the event itself. It's about who's forced to run it. In the grand scheme of workplace gender dynamics, what Lucy and I did might seem like a tiny stand, just opting out of Secret Santa, but it feels like a win. It's a reminder that we don't have to keep doing tasks out of obligation or tradition, especially when those tasks fall to us solely because of our gender. We have the power to say no, to stop enabling a culture where men get to lean on women for all the behind-the-scenes grunt work. So this year, the office halls will be a bit quieter. No Secret Santa sign-up sheets, no gift deliveries, no frantic last-minute confessions of, "I forgot to buy something. Help." And I'm cool with that. More time for me to tackle the important stuff, like finishing a client release on schedule, or heading home to actually enjoy the holiday season with my friends and family. If the guys are disappointed, well, next time they can organize it, or they can do without it. Either way, Lucy and I aren't budging. We're done, and I for one think it's a lovely holiday gift to ourselves.